He thought she was just another quiet girl he could control. What he didn't know, she'd been training for this moment her whole life. Zariah Cole had only been in Red Bluff, Texas for 3 days when she realized people didn't look at her the same way they had back in Oakland. In her old neighborhood, she blended in. Not invisible, just, regular. But here, at a Longview High, every hallway felt like a spotlight was following her. She stepped off the bus on her first morning wearing black cargo pants, a gray hoodie, and her signature high-top braids tied back tight. Not flashy, not trying to stand out. But the whispers started before she even reached the front doors. It wasn't loud, just enough for her to catch words like, "New girl," "Oakland," and "What's she doing here?" She didn't flinch. She didn't look up. Her uncle raised her better than that. Eyes forward, shoulders back. "Let him know you came to stay, not visit," he always told her. The halls smelled like overwarmed pizza and citrus floor cleaner. Teachers stood in doorways, sipping coffee and scanning the crowd. But nobody said hi. Nobody smiled. Except one kid, a chubby sophomore with braces who gave her a shy nod near the vending machines. But that was it. First period was world history. Her seat was in the second row next to a window. She sat down quietly, unpacked her notebook, and tried to ignore the way 2 girls in matching glittery hoodies kept staring and whispering like she was some kind of exhibit. "Zariah Cole?" the teacher, Mr. Levin, called out while taking attendance. "Here," she said. He looked up. "From California?" "Yes, sir." "All right then. Welcome to Texas." That was the most warmth she got all day. Lunch was worse. She carried her tray like it was a shield. The cafeteria was loud, but not in a friendly way. More like the kind of loud where if you sat at the wrong table, everyone noticed. So she slid into the last seat at the edge of the room, next to a vending machine humming just loud enough to drown out the awkward silence. That's when she noticed him. Across the cafeteria, leaning against the wall near the exit doors, stood a tall senior wearing a black varsity jacket. His arms were crossed. His head tilted slightly, like he was sizing her up. At first, she didn't even register it. She just thought he looked familiar. Not from life, but from the kind of stories her uncle used to tell her. The "watch out for this one" type. His eyes didn't blink. They just tracked her. She glanced away, kept eating. When she looked up again, he was gone. That night at home, Uncle Dwayne was making catfish nuggets and talking trash at the TV like usual. Zariah sat at the kitchen table, sipping ginger ale and watching him flip fish with way too much attitude. "You good?" he asked, not looking back. "Yeah," she said. He turned the stove down and faced her. "Z, don't do that thing where you say you're fine when you're not. Talk to me." She shrugged. "Just weird being new, I guess. Everybody got their own little groups already. Nobody talks much." He nodded. "That's how it always is. You ain't there to fit in. You there to finish strong. Everything else is background noise." She smiled faintly and picked at the crumbs on the table. She didn't tell him about the boy in the jacket. Not yet. But something told her she hadn't seen the last of him. The next time she saw him, he wasn't across the room. He was standing right in front of her locker. Zariah had just finished third period biology and was weaving through the hall like everyone else, earbuds in, hoodie half zipped, trying to keep a low profile. But when she turned the corner, there he was, leaning on the locker next to hers, arms folded, same black varsity jacket, same quiet stare. "Hey," he said, voice low, like he was already sure she'd stop. She didn't. She slid her backpack off, pretending she didn't hear him. He tilted his head. "You the girl from Oakland, right?" She unlocked her locker without looking at him. "Yeah." "You don't talk much." "Don't know you." He grinned at that, like she'd just told a joke. "My name's Tyler," he said, stepping back half an inch, but not enough to give her real space. "Most people here know me." "That's supposed to mean something?" His smile didn't move. "Nah, just saying. People talk. Everybody's curious about the new girl. Especially one who don't say nothing to nobody." Zariah shut her locker. "That's not an accident." She walked off, but from the corner of her eye she caught him watching her again. Calm, amused, like a lion watching a rabbit with just enough patience. That afternoon, she found him again in her periphery. Not close, not talking, just there. In the courtyard during lunch, sitting across the quad on a bench, Later, across the parking lot while she waited for her bus. And once more, when she turned a corner too fast and nearly bumped into him. No apology, just that same silent smirk. By Friday, she started timing her exits. She avoided certain stairwells. She stayed late in the library just to avoid the buses. But somehow, no matter what she changed, Tyler showed up, like smoke in a room with no windows. Her math teacher, Ms. Harden, noticed her hesitation one morning. "You all right, Zariah?" she asked softly after class. Zariah paused, thought about brushing it off. But something in the way Ms. Harden looked at her felt real. "There's this boy, he's around a lot, saying stuff, standing real close. It's just weird." Ms. Harden frowned. "Who?" "Tyler. Tyler Granger or Grayson? Varsity jacket. Tall." Ms. Harden blinked. Then she smiled, the kind that made Zariah's stomach twist. "Oh, Tyler. He's just a little intense sometimes, but he's harmless. He's a great student. Teachers love him." Zariah blinked slowly. "That's not the question I asked." Ms. Harden paused, softened her tone again. "If it gets worse, come talk to me. But I'm sure he's just being friendly." Zariah left without answering. She didn't tell her uncle that night either. Not because she didn't trust him, but because she didn't want to see that look on his face, the one that mixed fear and rage, the one he'd worn back when they left California. He'd already told her once, "If anybody makes you feel small, you make sure they never do it twice." But what if nobody believed her? Because around here, Tyler wasn't the problem. He was the favorite. By the second week, Zariah knew Tyler wasn't just some bored senior looking for attention. He was watching her, studying her, and nobody else seemed to care. It started when she caught him standing outside the girls' locker room after PE, arms crossed like usual, just waiting. He didn't say anything, didn't need to. She walked past him, towel around her neck, jaw clenched so tight she thought her teeth might crack. Later that day, he showed up in the back of the library, the one part of the building she thought was her escape. She was sitting on the floor between two shelves, reading, when she heard the whisper of sneakers. She looked up. There he was, pretending to browse the nonfiction section with his head tilted toward her just enough to make his presence known. He didn't check out a single book. Zariah slammed her locker harder than usual that afternoon. She didn't care who noticed. Her stomach was twisted into a knot she couldn't untie, and her palms stayed damp from first period to last bell. That night, she stared at her phone for 20 minutes before finally texting her uncle. "Zariah, can we talk when I get home?" He called instead. "What's up, Z?" She paused. "It's this guy, Tyler, from school. He's not saying anything wild, but he's always there, following me, locker room, library, even at the gas station last night when you dropped me off for snacks." Silence. "You sure it was him?" "I'm not blind." Uncle Dwayne exhaled hard. "All right, I'm picking you up from school tomorrow. We're going to handle it together. But remember what I told you. Don't carry fear around like it's yours to hold. That boy's not built like you." The next morning, Zariah showed up to the guidance office before first period. Mrs. Owens sat across from her, glasses hanging from a thin chain, nails freshly painted red. She listened, kind of, nodded politely, didn't write anything down. "So he hasn't touched you?" "No, but he's following me everywhere." "Well, technically, that's not a violation. He might just be... I don't care what he might be. I'm telling you what he's doing." Mrs. Owens folded her hands. "Let's not jump to conclusions, sweetie. Tyler's a good kid. He mentors freshmen. He's applying to state schools. You're new. Maybe give it some time, see how things play out." Zariah stared at her for a long second. Then she stood up. "I hope your daughter never has to sit in this chair and hear what you just said." She left before Mrs. Owens could reply. By the time last period ended, Zariah felt like she'd gone 10 rounds without throwing a single punch. She waited by the front entrance, scanning for her uncle's truck, heart thudding. That's when a voice crept up behind her. "You talked to someone about me?" She turned. Tyler stood there, hands in his pockets, no jacket today, just a plain dark t-shirt. His voice was calm, but his jaw twitched like it was holding back something sharp. "Why are you always around me?" she asked, loud enough for a few nearby kids to turn their heads. "I'm not. You just notice me now." "I've been noticing you." He smiled. "That's the point." Zariah took a step back. Careful, he said, eyes locking on hers. People might start thinking you're paranoid. Uncle Dwayne's truck pulled up a second later. Zariah yanked the door open and climbed in without a word. As they drove off, she glanced back. Tyler was still standing there, watching. And for the first time, Zariah realized this wasn't about curiosity. This was control. That night, Uncle Dwayne didn't say much during dinner. He just kept watching Zariah. The way her shoulders stayed tense, the way she poked at her plate more than she ate. Finally, after the news ended, he stood up and said, "Come outside." Zariah followed him to the garage. The air smelled like cut wood and old sweat. In the corner, a folded mat waited on the concrete floor like it had been expecting her. Dwayne bent down and spread it open. "You remember how to breathe?" Zariah blinked. "Yeah." He tossed her a pair of wraps. "Then show me." She didn't ask questions, just slipped off her shoes, wrapped her hands, and stepped onto the mat. Dwayne circled her slowly. Stance. She squared up, left foot forward, hands up, chin down. He nodded. "Good. Now move. Light on your toes." She bounced, shifted, stepped left, then right. "Now talk while you move. What's this boy's name again?" "Tyler." "Louder." "Tyler." "What's he doing?" "Following me, blocking my way, showing up where I go. Why?" "Control. What do we do with people like that?" Zariah exhaled sharply. "We don't freeze!" Dwayne's voice lowered. "Damn right." He threw a soft jab at her shoulder. She slipped it, then another. She parried and stepped back. "You don't need to beat anybody to a pulp," he said, "but you make sure they remember your name." She nodded. He feinted a low sweep. She blocked with her shin. "Good." They moved for 10 minutes. No talking, just movement. Muscle memory, footwork, reflex. Sweat dotted her forehead, but her breath stayed steady. "You think I trained you just for sport?" he asked, leaning against the garage wall now. "Nah, baby girl. I trained you for moments like this. You don't owe anybody silence. Not in school. Not on the street. Not in life." Zariah wiped her face. "Even if nobody believes me?" Dwayne looked her dead in the eye. "They don't need to believe you. They just need to witness you." For the first time in days, her shoulders loosened. That night, she slept with the window cracked open, cool air drifting in. And for once, she didn't wake up every hour expecting to see someone outside. The next day at school, she didn't hide her steps. She moved through the halls like she owned them. Tyler was waiting at the vending machines by the gym. He smirked when he saw her. "Didn't think you'd show today," he said, half laughing. Zariah didn't stop walking. "You don't scare me," she said over her shoulder. "You're just bored and lazy." Tyler's face tightened. "What'd you say?" "I said, I see through you. You're not deep. You're not clever. You're pathetic." She kept walking. Didn't wait for a response. Didn't need to. Tyler's voice followed her, low and dangerous. "You'll regret saying that." But this time, she wasn't the one who turned her head, because fear had left the building, and Zariah was ready. Friday afternoon felt like something was hanging in the air. Not heat, not tension exactly, but something tight, like a pulled rubber band. Zariah could feel it before the last bell even rang. She didn't ride the bus that day. She told Uncle Dwayne she had to stay after for a group project. That wasn't true. She just wanted to face Tyler on her own terms. She walked slow through the nearly empty hallways. Teachers were packing up, students peeling out in every direction, laughing, slamming lockers, filling the air with noise. But outside, in the back parking lot behind the gym, it was quiet. Too quiet. Zariah's footsteps echoed off the pavement. She knew he'd be there, and he was. Tyler leaned against a rusted silver Camry, arms crossed, phone in hand. He looked up when he saw her. "Told you not to run your mouth," he said, pushing off the car. "But here you are. Guess you wanted me to teach you something." Zariah didn't stop walking. She stepped into the shade of the overhang, her shadow spilling across the pavement in front of her. "You don't scare me, Tyler." He laughed. "Yeah, you said that already. Thing is, talk don't mean much when it's just you and me." He stepped forward. She stayed still. One more step, and they were only a few feet apart. "I don't know what your deal is," she said, her voice flat. "But you picked the wrong girl." He tilted his head. Oh? You gonna swing at me, tough girl? No, but I will stop you from touching me. Tyler smirked again, that same smug smile he wore in the hallways, the one that said, I can do whatever I want. Then he reached for her wrist, fast, but not faster than her. She caught his arm before he could make contact, pivoted, dropped her weight, hooked his elbow with both hands and turned, just like Uncle Dwayne taught her. Tyler hit the pavement hard, flat on his back. The air punched out of him with a single sharp gasp. Before he could get up, she stepped out back, hands raised, but steady. I don't want to fight, she said, voice clear. But I'm not scared of one, either. Tyler rolled onto his side, coughing. The gym door swung open. 2 students stepped out, both stopping in their tracks. What the hell just happened? One of them muttered. Zariah didn't say a word. She didn't need to. The image spoke for itself. Tyler Grayson on the ground, the new girl standing tall, breathing easy, not even a scratch on her. He scrambled up, chest heaving, eyes wide. No more smirking, no more jokes. You're crazy, he spat. You're gonna pay for this. She tilted her head. No, I'm not, but you might. She turned around and walked. Didn't look back, didn't run. Inside the office later, Principal Harris kept trying to understand. So, he didn't strike you first? No, Zariah said calmly, but he reached for me, and he's been stalking me for 2 weeks. Ask the cameras. There was silence. The counselor from earlier, Mrs. Owens, shifted uncomfortably. I warned you, Zariah added, eyes on her. You didn't listen. Her uncle was already on his way up to the school, but she didn't feel like she needed backup this time, because now the silence was on their side, not hers. And Tyler? Tyler finally learned that fear only works when the other person agrees to carry it. Monday came, and everything had changed, even if nobody said it out loud. When Zariah walked through the main doors of Longview High, the hallway chatter didn't stop like it used to. Nobody pointed. Nobody whispered loud enough for her to hear. They looked, sure, but they looked different now. Not like she was strange, like they were scared to underestimate her again. Tyler wasn't in first period, or second. Rumor said he was suspended for behavioral concerns. That was all anyone knew for sure. And while most students pretended they weren't curious, Zariah felt the eyes. They were softer now. Not friendly, but quieter, respectful. Even the 2 glitter hoodie girls from week 1 avoided her eyes when they passed in the hall. At lunch, she sat at her usual spot near the back, but this time she wasn't alone for long. A girl named Anaya from her English class slid into the seat next to her with a nod. You really flipped him like that? Zariah sipped her water. I didn't start it. That's not what I asked. Zariah shrugged. He won't try it again. Anaya grinned. Good. He'd been bothering girls for years. Nobody ever said nothing. You different. Zariah didn't reply, but inside something loosened. In the guidance office, Mrs. Owens offered a stiff apology. We'll be looking into improving our harassment reporting process, she said, not meeting Zariah's eyes. Zariah didn't need her to finish the sentence. The damage was done. The silence had been loud enough the first time. Uncle Dwayne didn't say, I told you so, that night, even though she knew he wanted to. He just handed her a fresh roll of wraps and asked, Same time tomorrow? Yeah, she said. Same time. The next few weeks passed slowly, but things settled. She didn't become the most popular girl in school. She didn't want to be. But people treated her differently. Teachers listened more closely when she spoke. Students moved aside in the hallway. Not because she scared them, but because she had drawn a line and kept it. And she never had to say it twice. Longview still wasn't home. Maybe it never would be. But Zariah walked with her head higher, her steps louder, her silence earned. People would remember what happened in that parking lot. Not just the fall, not just the flips, but the message. You can follow me. You can watch me. You can think I'm alone. But if you try to take something from me, my space, my voice, my peace, I'll remind you why silence does not mean weakness, because fear is a choice. And Zariah Cole, she stopped choosing it. If you've ever been made to feel small, invisible, or powerless, remember this. Your voice matters. Your boundaries matter. And your silence is not an invitation. Stand up. Speak out. And don't ever let anyone define your worth by their fear of your strength. Tell your story, share your power. Someone out there needs to hear it.